Interesting. Okay. Let's move to Nervous Nancy in Northville. That alliteration is fantastic. Nervous Nancy writes in, I made a private mortgage loan to a friend who has since passed away. So Nancy has lent the money. The amount of the loan is for $95,000. It was for my friend's business. We agreed to put a lien on his home. Since his death, there are of course no payments, and it turns out that the mortgage was never recorded, but I do have the payment ledger and the written agreement between us. I contacted my friend's son to get payment or to be paid off. He told me that I would have to deal with the estate representative since it will be going to probate. He also said that I charge a legal interest on the loan amount, 8%, and therefore I can't get any of the money back. Am I screwed here? Nervous Nancy in Northville.
Okay, there's like four things going on in that
Sure.
question. I'm already nervous. I'm sweating. let's like tackle this really quickly, okay? Because it's towards the end of the evening. And first of all, whatever happens, it's going to be challenged by the probate process. There's a personal representative that's involved, and their job is to collect the assets of the estate and distribute them in accordance with the wishes of the decedent. Okay. Again, we're dealing with probate and real estate. Okay, and mortgage financing. Okay, so here's the thing. The first thing that this individual needs to do is file their claim against the estate. There's a form. They need to file their claim that they're owed as a creditor $100,000 based on whatever this amount is.
Sure.
The creditor and the personal representative will have to fight about that part. Okay, what's owed, etc. The other thing is, I heard right off the bat, it's interesting. It sounds like a really complicated question, but when it comes to somebody saying interest, there's, oh, that interest is usury or that interest is too high. Well, it was for a business. When you have a loan that's for a business purpose, the current consumer credit regulations for mortgage financing, whether it be federal or state, most of the time it's federal, they do not apply.
Okay.
So usury won't apply provided that there's some verification, it better be in writing, that this loan was done for a business purpose. We call them, in my business purpose affidavits.
Okay.
So if there is a loan and it's supposed to be a lien on the property, it should have that affidavit that says that. But here's the difference here. The lien was never filed, so there's no mortgage violation. Got that?
Mm-hmm.
No mortgage violation. There's no lien filed, so you can't invoke the federal regulations that are prescribe high interest rates, for lack of a better term. Okay, that's number two. Number three, he has a payment ledger, which will evidence payment. So there was an understanding between the parties. Again, they did have something in writing, they just didn't file the lien.
Right.
Okay. So the question is, was this a intended mortgage that never got filed, or was it just a personal loan? So the son is correct. What really was it supposed to be? Okay. If there's something in writing that says, I've had this actually, after you make the first 3 payments, then we will go down to the courthouse and we'll record the mortgage. And then the person does make the first 3 payments, then that mortgage should be recorded because that was the intent of the parties. Now you have a mortgage. You can say, well, there was a mortgage supposed to be filed. We call those equitable mortgages. So the question is whether or not in equity, in fairness to this individual, was a mortgage supposed to be placed on this property? And I don't believe, and I'm not giving an answer, I'm just giving an observation. There's just way too much going on here.
Sure.
But number one, I believe that the parties had a mortgage or intended to mortgage. Number two, I don't believe they violated any federal or state prohibition against higher interest rates. By the way, 8% is not that difficult. It's not that terrible.
Sure.
Okay. Land contracts have an interest rate of 11%. 8%, not an issue, I believe. And so it's a business purpose loan, so it won't have any effect. So run to the courthouse, file your claim against the estate, and you're going to have to work it out from there. Okay.
Hey.
between attorneys usually.
So for the viewers who may be considering giving private mortgages themselves,
Right.
the thing that I heard that I couldn't believe, no mortgage was ever recorded. So how can a lender, a private lender,
Mhm.
when they give a private loan and each party signs the mortgage, and then it should be notarized, correct? Your mortgage should
Right.
also be notarized.
Uh,
I once had a private lender say to me, I want to file the mortgage myself, and then she went and filed it, whatever. So what steps can that private lender then take if they're if it's the very first time and they literally are that person going to Google, how do I file my private mortgage?
Well, take it from me, because I've been involved in mortgage servicing and
Mhm.
loan servicing for at least 20 years, if not 25. And I've been a private lender and am a private lender, um,
Mhm.
although I prefer land contracts. Uh, with a mortgage, you mail it down.
Mhm.
We used to mail it down to the county,
Sure.
okay, for recording. And you keep a copy of the signed mortgage and you send the original down to the county. And at the back of the mortgage, it says, when recorded, return this filed copy or the filed instrument to the drafter, which is
Right.
usually the attorney. Okay, that's number one.
Mhm.
Now we record the mortgages and deeds and most documents that convey property or an interest. We do that by electronic filing. You won't have that ability, but most title companies and law firms that deal with real estate have that, and we do that for our clients every day. We
Right.
record documents electronically, and that's one of the ways that you can make sure that it takes, very little time to get it recorded. It used to be a longer process. You mail it. Wayne County was notorious for being 90, 120. Sometimes, back in the heyday of mortgage subprime lending and mortgage financing in the mid 2000s, it might take 6 months before a mortgage was recorded. And that's where a lot of fraud came in, where homeowners and unscrupulous borrowers were,
Mhm.
refinancing 2 and 3 times on the same house, and no title company could pick up the information from the county because there was no recording of that mortgage. So let's pretend for a minute the mortgage never gets recorded, but the people do, take the money. Um, it's called an equitable mortgage.
Mhm.
You heard me say it earlier.
Yep.
It's a remedy. In this situation, the equitable mortgage is the court will recognize a mortgage on the home when certain elements, and there's like 5 of these elements, occur. And the equitable mortgage doctrine, as we call it, is used in a number of different scenarios. And it could be for predatory lending. It could be for lease with option to purchase, which a lot of people do, and you got to be careful. You should really have a mortgage. And number 3, it's done when documents are lost,
Okay.
okay, or they're not recorded properly. If the intent is to record and you can prove the intent, most people, if they're signing a mortgage, it's kind of implied and inferred that you're going to have that mortgage recorded.
Sure. So what that first time lender can do, because most of my transactions are done at the title company, the mortgage is being given
Right.
at the time of purchase, and then the title company records.
Right, because the title company gives you what they call an insured closing letter.
Right, right. But
What
if
does that tell
if
you?
it's outside of the title company, as this sounded like it was just, a loan. So if you're doing a private, the private lender, you can take that document to the
Yeah,
county.
you can do.
You can just
Sure,
put yourself on.
sure, of course.
Clarification, it's not the county where you live, it's the county where the business or the property is.
Always where the property is situated.
Sure, okay.
Right.
So it's not the county
So
where you live, it's the county of wherever premises
that's correct.
is located.
And I want to tell you, there have been lawsuits where the title companies failed to, by accident, they record they record a mortgage in the wrong county.
Sure.
And that happens, and why the county that's receiving, the mistaken county, the county where it should not have been recorded, why they accept it for recording, I don't know why.
Mhm.
They do, because perhaps they want the recording fee. I can't imagine that would be it. But people have lost their mortgages and they've lost out on their loans and their lien position because somebody has failed to record it in the proper county, which is crazy.
Wow.
But it does happen. So my suggestion is to those people who are lending significant amount of money, and that's all relative, right? I mean, some people lend 10, some people lend 50. Why people avoid going to a title company to, or an attorney to make sure that these documents are done properly is beyond me.
Sure.
But, you've heard me say this many times, it's the gift that keeps on giving. You want to do it on your own for the first time? Why don't you learn and have an attorney like myself kind of give you some guidance? It's worth a little bit of instruction. Pay for the instruction, get it done right. And then the next time you don't need an attorney like myself. You can go, somebody like Sobel told me I do this, then I do this, then I do this, and he gave me these documents. So now I know I got a checklist of what needs to be done, and I never have to worry about it again so long as I do these items.
Yep.
Okay. But people just want to cut corners. And it's the end of the day. We do these at night. I get a little loopy, but I mean, every time I say it's a gift that keeps on giving, it's because in my mind, I think of all the people that call who cry and whine after the fact because they didn't do it right.
Yep.
And I'm always happy to help those people, but I just wish they would come to me in the beginning because then they don't have the problem. The mortgage that we're talking about, the one that you're dealing with, needs to always be filed. That's why it's a mortgage.
Yep.
That's it.
Okay. All right. Well, that's a wrap. That's all we had for the evening.
We did pretty good. We're 10 minutes beyond, which is fine.
Not bad. Not bad. All right. Good deal.
All right.
Hey, all right. Well, thank you so much for everyone who was watching. David and I set the timer to keep ourselves in check because we can go off on so many trails on these because there's so many trails to go down. So if for some reason, like I said earlier in the first session, if you are watching these videos on some other platform other than YouTube, you have to head to David's YouTube channel. Just go to the search and plug in David Sobel or Proven Resource or Sobel Law, and his channel will pop up, and there's just a plethora, a wealth of knowledge on there, answers to questions just like this one, and so many more. And then also, David, before we sign off, if anyone needs to reach out to you for any sort of real estate law related question, how can they reach you?
It's very easy. 888-789-1715. I just want to say, besides that, you can of course put my name in the URL and it should pop up. But Blair, I want to ask those people who are watching, if you liked what you saw today and we helped you with some of your questions, if you would kindly just leave a comment in the comment box below and like and share the video. That's all we ask.
Yes, okay? Some of the questions that we read each week actually come from comments. This is what David told me. So it's not just the folks who directly connect with his office. Some of these questions are the comments that come from the YouTube channel. So David's reading your comments, everyone, or at least someone is going out there and collecting it. So you're not commenting in vain. But yes, if you received any value this evening, please click that like button and subscribe to David's channel. We would appreciate it. All right.
Thank you.
My name is Blair Clark.
Okay, David Sobel. Thank you very much, Blair.
And we'll catch you guys on the next episode. Take care, everyone.
Bye-bye.